I have books for both the guys that are in this week on the set. You're putting him in a stand-up top 10 list.
A comedy top 10 list.
Based mostly on his movies.
Yes.
After he died from cancer, people for years,
I thought he was
for over a decade. We haven't even like gone across the pond, like Jimmy Carr, all these like, you know what I
they're
mean?
trash. That's why they're over
No,
there.
Jimmy Carr's not trash.
I'm joking.
You're wilding. You're a comic now.
Yeah.
You have to know these things. Let's get into another segment. I love this one. This is one of my new favorite things we do here on the podcast. Are they top 10? What me and Dante have been doing the last few weeks is building out a top 10 list of the greatest comedians of all time. We're just starting, right? We're building out the list. And then once we have the 10, week to week, we will bring one name each week to just see if they knock anybody out of the list. And we will get audience engagement and interaction as we build out the list going forward. But yeah, you want to read out the list that we have so far?
We got Bernie Mac, Russell Peters, Cat Williams, George Carlin, Corey Holcomb, Patrice O'Neill.
So we're at 6.
Yep.
We have 4 more slots to go until we fill out the top 10 list. Obviously, my theme for the first 5 selections of mine have been the guys that have been on the wall represented this entire time. This week is no different. And this week, I purposely went with this guy because I would have went with another name that's probably solidified top 10. But I'm going with Andy Kaufman this week, who to me is top 5, 100%. But the way you put in Corey, and I feel like Corey could potentially get bumped once we start. We haven't even brought up Eddie or any of these guys. We haven't even brought up like Joan Rivers. Like I'll have to make an argument for Joan because I don't think you know her that well, but like she's elite.
Yep.
Like just all these different names. We haven't even like gone across the pond, like Jimmy Carr. All these like you know
they're
what I mean?
trash. That's why they're over there.
No, Jimmy Carr's not trash.
I'm joking.
You're wilding. Jimmy Carr is not trash.
He's over there with fucking Trevor Noah and those guys.
Trevor Noah is a little more on the trash side, but I don't want to be against my black African brother. But he knows his audience, man. He plays to that audience.
No, I'm just messing.
And again, they're just everything is subjective.
Yes.
So we say people are trash. Meanwhile, these people are selling out arenas, theaters, whatever. So we're not delusional. But we are trying to get the funniest. So once we get our top 10 in there, that's when we start opening up to the public. And they're like, okay, what names should be bumped out or what name, you know, and we'll figure it out week to week. But yeah, mine this week will be Andy Kaufman.
Yeah.
For multiple reasons. I think this guy transcends just comedy, but not out of like a necessity or desire. He just was a trendsetter. At least from what I was able to pick up, you know what I mean? Like I wasn't alive in the 70s when he was like
You weren't?
Shut up. So when he was really popping, but just going through the backstory and understand, like for me, the most prolific realization growing up being a wrestling fan is coming to the realization that Andy Kaufman, a comedian, was largely responsible for how the bad guy kind of morphed. Like it became more of a realistic shoot as opposed to the character villain. Because Andy, again, I won't go into crazy detail about this, but he was an auteur, bro. Like he liked stirring the pot. He liked people not knowing. He was like Eric Andre in his day, you know, or Eric Andre really is the him of this day. So he just loved going to the extent where people didn't know if he was serious or not. And it was funny.
Yeah.
Like he would do characters and stuff, but it wasn't just for the like. I didn't feel like it was just absurd for absurdity's sake. It always felt like he had reason behind what he was doing. But just seeing like the cultural impact that he had, him going around on national TV and wrestling women and then proclaiming himself the intergender champion of the world and then just picking out like scrawny little women. And he became vilified, bro, because people didn't know if he was serious or not. So they just see him on the news or Saturday Night Live or whatever, and he's doing an interview on the Tonight Show and he just calls out a woman from the audience and they're wrestling on the ground, bro. And then he cheats. Like the psychological games.
Yeah.
Like it added to me such a layer to comedy manipulating people's emotions through jokes.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is before like your Eric Andres, your Punked and all that stuff. So this was really trend setting before it became not just trend but hack. Now like everybody in their like it takes a lot to really get me to laugh in that direction. Eric Andre is probably my favorite of the modern take of just absurd auteur. Like I'm doing the absurdist take on a late night talk show. I'm gonna lift the mirror up and show you how actually lame all this stuff is. And Kaufman to me is a pioneer in that. I haven't even started talking about Clifton. He has this alter ego, and he went so far with this alter ego. He got a fat suit, like you didn't recognize him. It was Tony Clifton. He was a lounge singer, and he would literally go around doing shows as him and not showing up as Andy. And then people started suspecting that Andy is Tony. And then what he did one day, him and his best friend / writer, co-writer, Bob Zamunda, he put Bob in the suit. Bob goes out on stage. Everybody thinks it's Andy. And he's like, da-da-da-da-da. He's doing the same shtick. And then Andy comes out on stage. And everybody's like, who is Tony Clifton? If you haven't already, highly recommend going and watching anything Andy Kaufman documentary related. But the best thing I think is Jim Carrey's portrayal of him in the movie Man on the Moon. That movie is like, to me, and you know what's crazy? Bro, I didn't like it as a kid. I still remember seeing the trailers on TV because I was a wrestling geek, right? So they were promoting it on wrestling. But I didn't really know who Kaufman was yet. I was still like, I just wanted to see tits and people getting smashed over the head and play video games and stuff. Like I was in comedy, but I wasn't like of it yet. Mm-hmm. Kaufman wasn't on my radar. Like somehow Carlin was, oddly enough, but Kaufman wasn't. And so they're promoting this movie about this guy, Andy Kaufman, Jim Carrey's in it, and Jerry Lawler's in it, who's a wrestling legend. And it turns out that he actually has a big role in Andy's like legacy. Essentially, they had a big like feud in wrestling. That's the moment where Andy kind of transcended and went into the wrestling space, became a heel with Jerry the King Lawler, who was one of the biggest wrestlers at the time. And they went on Letterman and created this iconic moment where after they had the match and he gets spiked, a pile driver. And Andy pays out of his own pocket for an ambulance to take him to a hospital so he could pretend like he's going all the way with the work. Mm-hmm. So then they end up doing the post-fight interview on David Letterman, and Andy is wearing the neck brace, like his neck is covered, and then he's just screaming at Lawler, "I'm gonna sue you, F you, I'm sorry, Dave," because he's swearing on Dave's show essentially, and he throws the coffee. Lawler smacks the dog shit out of him. Like, and they planned this, but nobody knew. Yeah. Letterman didn't know. Nobody knew. So like the whole world, it was voted the top 500 most influential like TV moments, which whatever that means. But like, it's like an iconic, or 100 even. I think it's even 100. Like his impact runs deep and it just transcends comedy, but it is all comedy. Yeah. It was so crazy that after he died from cancer, people for years thought he was for over a decade thought he was gonna pop up one day, and his family went with the joke for a bit, and then it kind of got like there was one time where Andy received an award posthumously, and his brother received the award for him, and they did something where they pretended like there was a daughter or something like that. I forget exactly what happened, but bro, like that to me is hands down man's top 10 impact wise. Yeah. And that is my contribution for this week to the Are They Top 10 all-time comedy greats list. And what would yours be?
Well, I think we you kind of brought them up just then.
Okay.
But for me, I gotta throw Jim Carrey in there.
Yo, 2 white boys in this week. That's hilarious.
Yeah,
I gotta put some. I gotta mix it up.
I gotta mix it up, but I gotta throw
some salt in with the spice.
I didn't watch much Jim Carrey stand up, but
so you're putting him on movies?
I watched the hell out of his movies growing up, and he was.
You're putting him in a stand up top 10 list for
a comedy top 10 list.
based mostly on his movies.
Yes, for
Now-
me.
Now, have you gone and watched any of his stand up?
I've seen clips here and there.
There's a whole special I would
Yeah,
recommend.
I
Like,
gotta watch it. I haven't watched it, but like just growing up
yeah.
and just the things that he does, and like the way he like.
This guy right here.
I don't even know how to describe it, but it's like so over the top.
You know what's funny? I have books for both the guys that are in this week on the
Yeah,
set.
exactly.
I have Confident Jim Carrey right here. But yeah, continue.
like the way he, like you watch The Mask and you don't see Jim Carrey.
No, he becomes the mask.
He becomes The
He
Mask.
becomes Stanley Ipkiss. Ipkiss!
Yeah. But like you get what I'm saying? Like, and just the way he moves and the faces and everything that he would make, the way he talks funny and says like all that stuff. Like
The 3 movies that he made that blew him up, that all came out in the same year, which is insane. Dumb and Dumber,
yep.
Ace Ventura.
Classic.
Let's just talk about Ace Ventura.
Yeah.
You ever see the clip of David Alan Grier? And we haven't even got to In Living Color yet. Like, have you watched In Living Color? You're insane.
This is before my time.
It doesn't matter, bro. Like you're a comic now.
Yeah.
You have to know these things.
I guess.
You don't know In Living Color is wild. As a black guy too.
Who is it?
In Living Color.
Is that,
no? That's the show. That's the That's the show with Damon, Keenan.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
Jamie.
Yes.
David Alan Grier.
I gotta go back and watch that.
Bruh.
I thought you were talking.
It's worth watching. It still stands up.
Yeah.
Jim Carrey is the standout in that show.
Okay.
Like, for the most part, Jamie Foxx was amazing. Damon was amazing.
Yeah.
Carrey, anytime he was on there, stole the show. Bro.
Yep.
It's funny that we're putting both them in at the same week.
Because they're kind of similar.
They're not even kind of similar, bro. Kaufman is a mega inspiration for Carrey.
Yes.
Carrey played Kaufman. Dude, you know how much Carrey lobbied to be able to be Andy Kaufman? And like there's a whole story. So after you go and watch Man on the Moon, go on Netflix and watch the documentary Jim and Andy. So when they filmed Man on the Moon, this was notorious. I even knew this back then. I still remember seeing stories about this. Jim Carrey became hated in like Hollywood because during the filming of this movie, he went all in. Like he went was method acting.
Yeah.
He literally said bro, there was a moment, and this is in Jim and Andy, the behind the scenes documentary. He literally said there was a moment where I channeled Andy and I went to a beach and just meditated on it. I'm like, is this the role for me? I'm like, Andy, reach out to me. And as soon as I did, a pack of dolphins came to the surface and just do whatever. Like, you know what I mean? And like, that's that from that moment, he said I was Andy.
Yeah.
He made everyone talk to him like, bro, but you look at clips of Andy and then you look at Jim playing as Andy and it's damn, like nobody else could have played him.
But that's what I'm saying. Like,
Nobody else could've
you
played
don't
him.
see Jim Carrey when he's acting. You
See Andy.
You see The Mask. You see Ace Ventura.
Dude, he met Andy Kaufman's parents in
Andy
and
face.
they cried. They said that was my son. The mom, I think.
That's crazy.
They cried.
Yeah.
Because they're like, that's my son. So, but even what I knew, because that movie was so notorious, he made it such a problem because he said, I'm not Jim.
Mm-hmm.
And I would recommend, even if you don't watch Man on the Moon, watch that documentary.
I'll
If you're a
watch it.
Jim Carrey fan,
Yeah.
philosophically, like you learn a lot about Jim in that. That's where I really stopped even looking at him as like, oh, this man's off the rocker. Because I wasn't in my own spiritual bag yet. You know what I mean? Now I completely...
That's a whole nother level of why he's in the...
Yeah, but that, like, we're talking comedy though. So
I know,
once we start getting into the nitty gritty...
Hey, I understand, but this guy deep in the woods, bruh.
But they filmed all of the behind the scenes footage for Man on the Moon. Because Jim was in costume the entire time on set. Jim Carrey or Andy Kaufman.
Yeah.
When they did the Tony Clifton scenes, that was even crazier. There's a whole scene where you could see him. He's driving as Tony with a paper bag on his head.
As Andy.
He's
Driving as Andy, as Tony.
as Tony
I'm a
with a
dude playing
paper
another
bag on
dude.
his head, driving a car in the back lot of the movie studio, and he like crashes into something. But that is That is Tony Hinchcliffe. Tony Hinchcliffe. That's annoying. That's annoying. That's so annoying. I can't even think of the actual name now.
Tony Rockman.
You're ridiculous. This is no. Oh no. Tony Clifton.
Tony Clifton.
I'm losing my mind. Tony Hinchcliffe. Oh my God. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So they filmed a bunch of behind the scenes of that movie, and the movie studio said never release this footage because it will make the public hate Jim Carrey and not want to watch this movie because he looked like a dick.
Yeah.
But he was method acting, right? And I truly, bro, especially knowing like the spiritual side of all this stuff, and he's a DMT, acid, that kind of guy. I fully believe he got in that, like he was possessed by Andy. Bro.
Yeah, he channeled.
Straight up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's crazy to me that you're putting Jim Carrey in and you don't know his stand-up or In Living Color.
Yeah, but
like I agree with you, but you kind of stumbled into this win. Like, you know what I mean?
No, I know. I put him in there specifically.
You put him in based off movies and not really knowing the greater.
No, but I know why.
You got some homework. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I have homework on homework.
Homework. What, you haven't watched Man on the Moon yet? I have the DVD if you want to borrow it.
I'll watch it online.
Ugh.
Keep your copy.
I will.
Yeah.
Pristine. Exactly. One day I'll get it signed by Jim.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got anything more to add?
Also, Canadian legend. Throw him in there for that too.
Salutes.
Yeah.
Jim Carrey and Andy Kaufman, this week's additions to the Are They Top 10 comedy list. Next week, we add the final 2 names to make it a full top 10 list. And then going forward is when we open it up for full debate, full discussion. People get knocked out. People get added in. Tears. What's your name? Dress size? R.I.P. the Godfather.
Oh my God. He goes in top 10 comedians all time. Give him the double Holtzman salute.
This is Black Zeus, the podcast season 5.
I love y'all. Thank you for supporting. Once again, the Patreon is launched. If you do want to watch my comedy special right now, you can do so. It's only $10 and you can get it as part of the subscription fee. So like if you subscribe to the Patreon, you can get it that way, or you can just buy it outright for $10 that way. Once again, for transparency, I will release the comedy special for free on the YouTube once we hit 1,000 subscribers. So you can also just hit the subscriber button and just do that. You can support that way, whichever way you want to support. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, all that. I don't necessarily use it the way everybody else does, but I'm there if you want to find me. AKA Black Zeus is the person to find on those platforms.